Hey, good evening and welcome to Right Side Pride Podcast. It is February the 10th at 6:30. This is episode 2. We have a couple of new folks here. One introduced earlier, Angela. She's the co-host here for Right Side Pride. And we have a guest, Charlie Wasser. He's going to be educating us on everything Rotary, Rotary Club, and kind of talking about what plans are for getting things going in here in San Antonio, specifically within the LGBT community, and kind of just educating everybody on what it takes to do it and how we can help to get it to where he wants to get it to. So appreciate everyone for viewing, and we'll get into it.
Charlie.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
About myself. Well, I've pretty much lived all over the country. I started off in New Jersey, living in Newark, New Jersey in the early 60s. And that was, for good or bad, that's what turned me into the progressive liberal I am today, because the poverty was there was just incredible. I was in the school system, and without going too deeply into that, it was my parents' first house that they bought when they came to this country in 1950. They finally were able to afford it. I then moved to New England as an engineer, and I started to get into some projects like we'll be talking about here, but not quite in Rotary. When I was in New England, I was working for Raytheon, which kind of doesn't play with being too liberal, because it was their missile systems. But they're important, unfortunately, the world being what it is. And then getting tired of snow, which is very easy to do. I was there for about 11 years, and I moved to California in 1988. And I was always uncomfortable about California because of earthquakes and whatever else. And within, say about 3 months after I moved there, little thing called Loma Prieta, which was anywhere from a 6.9 to 7.1 hit. And then I was in my house, and being in the house was like being on a surfboard. The house was just moving back and forth. But nonetheless, I really loved California. I gave up engineering, got into printing and publishing, and I met somebody from Rotary. The fellow fit the dynamic. They say, okay, anybody in Rotary, usually an old white guy with white hair. I guess I didn't fit that part. And he was one of my bigger customers, definitely on the way up to being 100,000 a year. When someone like that says you belong in Rotary, it's like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. But it was a good choice. I really got into Rotary quite a bit. And one of my mentors in Rotary, as I was trying to get into leadership, gave a seminar on how we need to go out into the political environment and meet the elected officials. So through my connections in Rotary, I was able to meet about 7 or 8 of the 10 city council members in San Jose and the mayor. We became buddies. And again, from that, I was appointed to be on the board of directors for what's known as the Santa Clara County Fairgrounds, Silicon Valley Fairgrounds, basically. And I ended up as chairman of the board. I bring that stuff up because when you talk about where does Rotary fit into my life and stuff like that, all this political stuff would not have happened had I not been in Rotary, had I not been urged by this particular fellow to get into politics and get people from political realm. And I started some clubs out there, and a couple of the members were city council members, and that wouldn't have happened without the push. And other things that I did in Rotary, getting into the normal community type projects. And I started what's known as a Rotaract Club, which was for college students. And then I started two regular Rotary clubs. One of them we call a cause-based, meaning that we're going to concentrate on one particular area of the community. That one is the LGBTQ club that I started back there, which is basically the exact same thing I'm in the process of starting now in the San Antonio area. And to indicate how accepting Rotary is. At one point when I first joined in 2004, you could just tell gay or this or that or not being within line of the old white rich guys wouldn't fly. These days, Rotary has opened up, and just as an easy way to explain it with the DEI, There's some bad points of DEI, but there's also some good points. Rotary is totally open to that, and they've got a large committee in the headquarters looking at that. And the club that I started just celebrated the 5th anniversary. And while they're only at 22 people, I'm always on people, recruit. Someday these people are going to retire. I'm probably going to get up and leave soon too. Being the age I am, Angela knows we don't need to talk about it.
I actually let Hector know. So
okay. Well, then the two of you. Okay. Anyway,
It'll be our secret.
Yeah, right. Anyway, they had 200 people come to an anniversary, which to me is an incredible number. You look at 50 to 100 people with that kind of anniversary. They had elected officials, one of which is known as a supervisor in California. In Texas terms, it would be a commissioner, working at the county level. So she was there. She was supportive with me too when I was first doing it. And I think there were a couple of other elected officials there and some of the leaders from the Rotary District, which pretty much shows that at least, that area of the world and Rotary itself is very supportive of different types of cause-based. Every now and then when I advertise, there are some people that say, but why do you need a separate one? I thought you wanted to join and everything. And it's like, yeah, we have no problem. I've been in clubs for 20 years. But the gay type thing is when I walked around, even a place like Silicon Valley, where you figure, okay, millions and billions, and our friend Mark Zuckerberg with however many gazillion dollars he has now. When you walk down North First Street, which is where a lot of nightclubs are, there are always young boys and girls. And by young boys and girls, I mean 13, 14, 15-year-olds. And they are not dressed the way most kids are dressed at that age. They're obviously trying to attract people for the night. And I think you can get the point of what I'm saying. The numbers that I had found out, I think it's nationwide, but specifically there, 40% of the kids on the street are gay. They've been thrown out of their homes or whatever. And as a child, I didn't bring it up. I kind of thought I was gay, but I was in denial for quite a while. So I saw no need to tell my parents, who probably would have said, we're sorry, but my father might have, but there is the door. So I missed that bullet, luckily. But the point is, walking around these streets was part of the incentive to do that. And the first project that we did as the Gay Rotary Club forming, we hadn't even been chartered by Rotary International, was for a youth organization. It was like the LGBTQ youth space. And I found out about them because I was in a micro brewery with some of the other people from Rotary. We're, upper middle class, whatever, having this expensive beer. And across the street, about 10:30 at night, there was clothes hanging from a rack. And the next day, I found out that was clothes that they put out for the kids on the street, mostly for the gay kids, so that they could find the clothing that matched their gender identity, because it's easier that way. They could do it at night or whatever. So in the first month of trying to work with them, we brought in about $5,000. The really fun part of that was the Earthquake soccer team, professional soccer team, found out that I was going to be at an event that they were going to be at with a table that said Rotary. And they invited me to talk to them and work with them and whatever. And when I said I was going to do the fundraiser for the space, they said, okay, we'll give you some clothing. And it was about $700 of brand new high-end jackets and stuff like that, sweatsuits, so that you've got some kid on the street. Yes, there are other things in his life, but think about that. When you were 13 or 14, somebody gives you a professional sports team's jacket and a really high-end one. You're a king. You're
right.
a queen when you got that stuff. And about 6 months after that, I called them. They said, yeah, we got more for you if you want it. So the athletic teams out there, I'm sure around here too, I'm sure the Spurs have been that good. So they are on my list. So if anybody from the Spurs is listening, I'd like to come talk to you. Other than that, there's projects that they've done and that I would see the club doing out here once we're formed. There is a homeless shelter specifically aimed at gay homeless people. And as it turns out, the age range was 18 to 25 of the residents. It was open to anybody that wanted to come in. You didn't necessarily have to be gay, but the stress and the influence was gay. So anyway, these young people, the club, because of COVID, we couldn't do it before I left Texas and left California in March 2020. They would go to the homeless shelter on a monthly basis and bring at least one meal, and they would go in and sit and whatever. But as COVID hit, they would bring the food, but leave it on its step outside the door, but at least they could bring the food into these people. And they're still doing that now. So that's 5 years later. There is a.
Sounds like you've accomplished quite a bit there through
What's that?
Rotary there.
Oh,
It sounds like you've accomplished quite a bit.
Yeah, these people have done quite a bit. I mean, it's, they caught the Rotary bug. There's once you get into it, you realize you can say, yeah, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I mean, I did a literacy project in Burkina Faso with a married professor couple at a local university. They were basically living in Burkina Faso, then they'd come back to Silicon Valley. So we got the project about $37,000, through my efforts and through Rotary money. But as far as the gay club going, let's see, I got my list. I'm forgetting things already. They also, at the gay community center, there's, I guess out here it's called the Pride Center. They own the building there. They were leasing the building. The Rotary Club got on the roof and put up solar panels. I mean, I think that's really neat. But I would have played my role from being a leader. Well, leaders don't go up on ladders, please. You guys do it. But that was a cost savings to the center. And let's see what else. Oh, they've also gotten involved in other projects outside of Rotary. The Gilroy and a little further south in California is where they talk about some of the farmers and
that's the garlic
the issues they
capital
have
of the
in poverty.
world.
Like Central Valley also, but this was like on the West Coast, near the coast, and they were these food caravans where somebody was recruiting groups like Rotary to drive down to the Gilroy area to distribute food. And the Rotary Club got into that, and that would have been out of pocket. Because at that point, they really didn't have any money. They didn't raise any money. So again, they're willing to do that. And let's see, one more. One of the things that was really kind of outside the realm of gay, but they still did it, was they worked with another group in Mexico and built a 2-room schoolhouse. Now, I was outside them. I didn't even ask where the money came from. It was about $17,000, and the club was about 3 years old, which for any club is a pretty good accomplishment. 3 years open, that's a damn good accomplishment. So again, the point of all this is, one, Rotary does a lot of marvelous things. The other side, yes, Rotary is ready to have an LGBTQ club, another one. There's probably, I don't know, I'm guessing at the number around 10 or 12 worldwide.
What how far are you along in your efforts here locally to get the LGBT side of the Rotary kind of going?
If you look at the Facebook group I've got, I started about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
COVID was still getting in my way, and I wasn't really getting out and expressing myself. And the way I've described it, I was just too new to the area, and I didn't know, using Facebook. I love Facebook, whatever else, without getting into the politics. I love Facebook, because of the way it does bring people together. And I was able to recruit people, and I got it up to around 12 people. We need at least 20 again for Rotary to charter. It didn't quite jive because there was very little we could do. And there's also a couple of groups out here that are incredibly strong, that are marvelous. They're not Rotary. They specialize. They both specialize in youth. One of them deals with youth housing, and the other one deals with just general youth socializing in the community. When we talked about them joining, I got on a board of one of them, and it didn't quite work. And COVID really was hanging over. So this effort now, I started about a week or two ago.
Okay.
And when you guys found me on Gay San Antonio, I guess it was, that was the first major publication. It was a post on Facebook. It was the first thing I did.
Okay.
Out of that, I got about 10 or 11 names.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, no, it was wonderful. And again, from the perspective of anybody here that's listening that's new to this area, when I came here, I knew that, I was going to be gay for the rest of my life, but it wasn't going to be as open and out because it's Texas. And I was totally wrong. Most of the people here are very friendly. The county sheriff, very, very supportive. They have a gay support lieutenant who's available to us, available at various events and things like that. And her name escapes me at this point, but so that it's supportive. The city hall is very supportive of it. I'm in the process, and again, to throw something in about Rotary, I'm in the process of trying to open free medical clinics in San Antonio. I've opened one so far, one another 5. And through that work, I was able to meet the medical director for both the city of San Antonio and the county of Bexar County. And she's been very, very supportive of it, of what we're doing and of Rotary. So again, it's another thing Rotary's doing. Right now, the clinics are outside of Rotary. Every now and then, as people get to know me, it's like, okay, don't give him the rules because he's not going to follow them. Or if he doesn't like the rule, it's like, what rule?
It's
what
my
rule?
kind of person.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to ask, forgiveness and permission, right? So,
ironically, there was a book I was reading when I was in New England. I was in a very, very tough environment, and luckily, the senior VP, one of the founders of the company, took a liking to me, in the interview, and he said, "You'll go far here, but the thing you got to remember is, he who is hungry eats." And I'm like, "Oh, you can't possibly mean that." He meant it. You got to walk over whoever. And a book that he gave me to read, one of the chapters was on just that. It's like, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask permission.
Yep.
Because if it worked, they're going to go, how can they be mad at you? If it didn't work, they're going to go, you see, bye. So, it's one of these environments where I happen to think I'm a meek, quiet individual. No comments. But every now and then, in an environment where somebody is just pushing and obviously coming out with things that are not real. Oh, I did this, or this is what we should do, or whatever. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. We've tried that before and it doesn't work. And if it keeps hammering, I will get upset, depending on the person. I'm not just going to go around yelling at people, but every now and then I do lose it. That was my boss's problem. He taught me that.
Hey, Charlie, I got a quick question. And it's kind of off subject. Summer's coming up. What's your favorite vacation place during the summer?
In the summer?
I'm actually taking a poll, and everybody we have on, I ask.
As much as I liked California, you got to be doing extremely well. And since I was fading off to retirement, I didn't have that much money. So most of what I did was the California beaches. I just think they're great.
I love that answer. That's my favorite too.
Well, yeah. But mine was Northern California, the real place, the real California.
It's not really California.
Y'all could go on for days on that argument. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna intervene before the boxing gloves come out. So, what would you say the biggest challenge is kind of in getting something like this organization going? What are some of the bigger challenges and obstacles that you face?
The first one, obviously, is finding people. And then when you find people, make sure that they're the kind of people that want to be involved, that really, really want to be involved, that understand it, as opposed to, hey, I'm in Rotary. We'll catch you later. I'll see you at lunch, but I'll see you later. And part of Rotary's reputation is just that. Going back to the analogy of the old white guys, it's no longer just old white guys that do it. People will sign up and say, hey, I'm there. And then you ask somebody to do something on a particular project. Other people are waiting for this guy's work to be done. And a lot of time, not all the time, but a lot of times you get an answer back like, yeah, I didn't get to it yet. I know it's been a month, but I'll get to it tomorrow.
That's annoying.
That's like a volunteer thing, but it comes in here in spades. Because Rotary, depending upon how you set the club up, there are some basic dues type things, nothing too elaborate, nothing too exotic. But other clubs, I was in a club where I was spending about $1,500 to $2,000 a year for various things. So you really have to be dedicated to do that. And what I found was if the club is too inexpensive, the people that join will do it just to say, I'm in Rotary. Oh, that's a cool shirt. I want to wear that. And it's like, because there is some clout with that. People that know Rotary, will be impressed that you're in Rotary. So it's the recruiting. One of the things that I found in California, and I'm using it here, again, my favorite program is Facebook. If there are things about people that indicate that they're in the community, the gay community, I will try to contact them and make friends with them and whatever. And using their friends list, I know everybody's going to start blocking their friends list. I'll look at the friends list and try to check them out and see what's going on. So it takes a certain amount of digging.
Yeah.
But the club that I started in California, 7 or 8 months, and it's usually a year, year and a half. So that technique to me works. And as what's
No,
that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. No, the idea of looking for names in Facebook and then growing it from there, and then also stressing that people that are joining, if you really want to join and you want to get this thing going, who are your friends? Do you have any friends that want to join? And generally, of course, people that start bringing people in are interested. I've had 2 people. There's one guy and one lady who said that they're going to have their husband and wife join with them. So that's 4 right there. I'm wondering if there's another couple I know that might want to join. Yeah, I'm looking at you. In case anybody's listening, yeah, I can be obnoxious with recruiting. It's called guilt. Sometimes it works.
What? Okay.
I'm a healthcare recruiter by day, so I know what you're talking about.
Ah,
Absolutely.
Charlie, let me ask you this: you run into somebody on the street here. Let's say you're down on the Riverwalk or at the zoo or something, and you run into somebody, you're wearing your Rotary shirt, and they say, "Hey, what's that?" And what's your I don't like to use the word pitch, but how do you talk to them about your shirt and what it means and to get them interested? What would that look like?
yeah, it's not just shirts, actually. There's all kinds of pins that Rotary
Okay.
produces, and we were producing as vendors for just that, so that you're pumping gas or you're at Starbucks online. Somebody will invariably say, "Hey, what's that?" Or "I heard about Rotary. What is that?" So the spiel right away is, the main thing is that it's a community service club. You join knowing that you're going to be doing community service projects. You join also because of the networking, the people that you will be meeting. I mean, there's any variety of people. There's young people right out of college that are in it. There are people that have been in business. There are people that are in family businesses that have been around over 100 years in this area. So that they are well to do. So from a networking perspective, if you're still looking for a job or just you want to see what's going on in San Antonio. So the other part of the pitch is you get to see what the newsmakers, you get to talk to the people that are being interviewed, the people that are causing or helping the issues along. And the social side of it, you make friends, pretty deep friends, because the way it used to be was they expected Rotary clubs to meet every week. We don't anymore. It's 2 times a month. Some clubs slip off that, but you're seeing the same people over and over. And if you go to an event that the Rotary Club is having, yeah, you're bringing husbands, wives, friends, whatever, so you interface like that. So it's the whole spiel. I mean, it's not too long a thing though. I've probably gone in deeper than I normally do, because you've got a certain amount of time before the person goes, yeah, go away.
Like an elevator pitch.
There you go. That's what we usually call. Yeah. And I mean, it works if you're willing to go out. One of the issues that I've had with some of the leadership in Rotary is they always try the concept of bring one person. Everybody in the club should bring one person and get them to join. And boy, we double the membership. And I remember I was at a seminar where they were talking about membership, and the fellow that was talking had been like a worldwide membership. And that particular year, he did well. But he did well because the guy he was working for, who was president. And he said, again, the answer is everybody at a club meeting say, okay, next week, everybody's got to bring one member or you're going to be fined. And it's like, yo, fined? Oh, fining used to be a big deal. We'll get to that. It's not. I mean, the point of all this too is it's changed. And I went back and forth with him and I said, I will help somebody, but I've started 2 Rotary clubs and I've also brought in about 30 people. And I would never sit for somebody telling me I have to bring somebody in. And I embarrassed the guy. That wasn't the intent. He was kind of dumbfounded and considering the kind of person he was. But again, some people want to bring him in, but they're too shy. And when you go to somebody and say, hey, Rotary, there still is the reputation, unfortunately, that it's just old white guys. And to get people over that, I say, yeah, old white guys with white hair. Just kind of rub my head and say, see, not a problem. Wait till it grows out. It's a little lighter. But they're just too shy to do it. Oh, yeah, I asked, my neighbor who would be a great member, but he said no. It's like, when did you ask? Yesterday. Okay, would you like to introduce me to him in 2 weeks or a month? Or would you like to ask him in a month? Because maybe he was coming down with a cold. Maybe he had a bad day at work. Maybe he had a fight at home, and he's just not thinking those terms, or he's real busy at work. When you come back to him, you're going to give him the message, hey, you really are this, he thinks I'm important enough to join. Let me at least go to lunch or dinner. Depending upon the club, there would be like a free lunch. But yeah, that's getting the right people in.
How do you trying to word this the right way? Because specifically within San Antonio, we've been here for about 7 years. How long have you been here? If
Five.
in San Antonio? 5?
March
Okay.
20, just as the pandemic, the lockdown was coming.
So one thing and I think Angela can attest to this, we found that the LGBT community here is somewhat divisive, um, toxic, some would say. um, and it's kind of finding that common ground, to be able to get something like this off the ground. Like, how do you weigh both sides to get them to come together for this common purpose? Because the premise behind it is great. You want to help the community, you want to help the youth, you want to help underserved individuals, but how do you get this side over here who hates this side over here because they hate this side over here? So it's like, how do you find that common ground to mend that, to come together for that one common purpose?
Like we were talking about the other day, the two issues that Rotary says not to talk about is religion and politics. The two, don't ever, Thanksgiving dinner, don't bring up religion or politics, unless you don't want to stay for the whole dinner.
It's kind of like if you go to a bar, right? You don't bring up those topics, so
it depends what state.
yeah.
No, there was one fellow, God, when Obama was running against McCain, and he was ultra right-wing conservative, and somehow we thought I was an ultra right-wing conservative. Whatever little thing I said, I had to figure out what it was so I didn't say it again to somebody. He came up to me and he said, "Who'd you vote for?" I go, "Larry." I usually don't answer that question, certainly not at Rotary. And it was like he asked me the same question 3 times. And then he finally stuck his finger in my nose and he said, "You voted for Obama. You're nothing but a communist." And I said, "Larry, this is why we don't talk about this stuff. In the 20 years I've been in Rotary, this fellow Larry was the only one that's ever done that." With that, when the question comes up, because we're adults, we're having lunch or whatever, something happened in the news today. Trump did this or Biden did that or whatever it is. You're going to talk about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what he was saying was, who did you vote for? As in, you have to re-up and prove to me you're a Republican.
Right.
And it just was none of his business. And generally that doesn't come up. Most people accept the rules. It's kind of a cute story I told about people. These fellow that I knew in California owned 2 car dealerships. And that's a pretty common thing in Rotary in California, is owning many dealerships. And he was pretty ultra right wing. Again, he's from Dallas originally. I wonder where he got it from. And one of the projects that we were doing was we were giving kindergarten, first grade kids free shoes. Again, Silicon Valley, but these are the people that are kind of hidden. You don't see them. And the parents just can't afford, on a McDonald's salary, even 2 of them. So we were giving the free shoes. So here, he's sitting next to me, obviously a multimillionaire, and I'm sitting next to him. I'm not starving, shall we say. And we're both taking shoes off little kids and testing them for the new shoes. And some of these kids were wearing the same socks for days and days and days because they couldn't afford it. Parents weren't around enough. So here Bob and I were on our hands and knees together doing it. So there was nothing about politics there. It was like, okay, these people need our help. Yeah. The other thing in the room was there was somebody from the library getting the kids' books. And in the case of these kids, it would be their first or second book in their house. And I guess along that line, I'm rambling. I want to direct this some other way. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. You're good.
One of the things about books, club I was in, we had 3 schools that we would visit once a year. And we'd bring in about 15 or 20 books so that each kid in the room would get a copy of the exact book. And the Rotarian would sit in front of the room reading from the book. And the way I made a joke out of it, and I said, okay, now you got to make me a promise. You can take those books home, but you got to promise to give them to your brothers and sisters. And everyone's all excited. And then as I was done, there was still a little girl that as I was getting ready to leave said, she's handing me the book back. And I said, what are you doing? That's for you. And she said, oh, really? I thought we had to give them back. And she's grabbing it. It was just, that was obviously her first book at home. And remember, Silicon Valley. So the next time you curse out Silicon Valley, not everybody's living the good life.
Right.
But anyway, so that's where Rotary does come in. One of the things I did, I don't have the picture on my Facebook page anymore, but you might find it under the pictures. When I came out here for district-wide, the district is San Antonio with a bunch of miles around. They say it's something like 50,000 square miles, and I have no idea what that means, is the district. And I came up with an idea in California, did some there, but we were doing mini libraries. There's a library on a corner or in front of somebody's house, and you fill it with books. It's the ones we were building were about 2 feet by 3 feet tall. And the people would come, the kids and the parents would come, and they could take a book and go home and never be seen again. Or they could bring the book back, or the next time they come, they bring books that they're getting rid of and they want new books. And the idea there is just to teach people. Again, parents are poor. They have to work very hard. They don't have the time to take a kid to the library.
Right.
It's the kind of thing I went through in Newark when I was growing up. My parents were definitely education, but they were working late. So I would have to walk 6, 7 blocks, and 11, 12, 13-year-old. Walking 6, 7 blocks to a library wasn't the most exciting thing or probably safest.
Something like that today in particular, with the way things have kind of been trending and parents having to work more hours and more jobs. And, the kids, unfortunately, are the ones who have to sacrifice, in that sense. And in a sense, almost raise themselves, which is, for lack of a better phrase, it sucks, the days of being able to have a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad are far behind us. That it's not something that is there. So having these programs and having something out there, that can assist is definitely something that the community needs. And I think it's great. I think it's great that what you're trying to do and the fact that you've succeeded, and kind of know how to lay the foundation and kind of get it going.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'd love to help, and I know, Angela and I were talking about it, prior to this, something that we've volunteered for boards before, and because we didn't align with the way they aligned, we were kind of an outcast, and I like the idea that none of that matters here because you don't talk about it.
Right.
You work for that common goal. You work for that common, you're working for the kids, you're working for the community. You're not working because you want the recognition.
Right.
And I 1000% support that and appreciate what you're doing.
The way the project that I was doing in Burkina Faso was described to me, the professor I was working with wanted me to go to Burkina Faso with him, just to see the villages where we were producing books, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We put a computer system, and it was their publishing system. And what I told Michael, the professor, was that more than likely I'm never going to make it out there. The only thing I want from this project is to show me a picture of a little boy and a little girl, each one carrying a book, walking across their village. I said, that's all I need. I'd like to go see it and everything. But then again, Burkina Faso was like every 6 months they had another general. It's good people wanted the job, But anyway, so it was a tough environment, which is why the poverty in Burkina Faso. So we were doing the books.
Charlie, let me ask you this: what will Rotary have to look like here at this Rotary gay rodeo? We've got rodeo on the mind because it's rodeo time. But gay Rotary San Antonio, what will it take to? What will it have to look like in order to take care of all these programs that you want to get done?
Like any other Rotary
members
club. Yeah, like any other Rotary club. Again, Rotary looks for 20 people to charter a club. When I've done this, I've tried to have 25 to 30 people on the roster because invariably, as we're starting, even something as basic as, okay, we have to send a check for everybody to Rotary for $15, just the initial deposit. And that scares people off. And they're like, okay, so perhaps you weren't even interested. Or maybe you've got other issues and, reality won't let you do it. But the people that join really have to have the mindset that there are many issues out there and that when it comes time to do projects, you are very welcome to come up with a project idea. But sometimes somebody else is going to come up with a project idea. So right now, if we're not a big club, you all work on that project. Next week, you present yours and we'll go from there. Right. Some of these projects are basic things like cleanup projects. The club in California, even though a gay club, would clean up riverbeds and stuff like that. My club, they call it the big downtown San Antonio club. We do something at a park, and I keep forgetting, I'm losing it. But the executive director we have invites clubs from around the district, and we usually get about 150 people cleaning up the park. So what would the club look like? The people in the club have to be willing to get to know each other. As a sideline too, like how do you recruit somebody? And I go, basically, I'll stick my hand out and say, hi, I'm Charlie. I defy anybody to just ignore it unless there's something else they don't like about me. How can you turn that down when somebody does that? You may get bored in 30 seconds, but you get the conversation going.
Right.
The people I look for should have to do that. And most of the people that have been successful, and not everybody, you don't have to be a big talker and whatever else, are able to go out and recruit and meet people, because you go out and recruit and you say, hey, I want to do something in that park. I'll find out who we need to talk to, just step through it. Or, hey, that's cool. We should all go to some bar on Friday night or whatever, and somebody's got to pull that together. So it's people that are willing to put all this time in, and it's doable. The clinics that I talked about, all the medical people, that's the doctors, nurses, PAs, and whatever else, and the rest of us that get into the admin and stuff, it's all pro bono. So as busy as doctors are, they'll give us the time. And this is where you got to be flexible. I tried starting the clinics also when I came out here, and several doctors said, come back to me when COVID is under control, because these poor people are putting in 15, 20-hour days. And I didn't think they were going to say, oh, sure, I'll give you another 10. I didn't think they physically could.
Right, sure, absolutely.
So that's, what does it look like? Basic thing is people that have a mindset and a heart. Like I will when I recruit, and I say, so I was on a podcast, and why don't we say that the three of us were on different sides of the world as far as politics, but both of them, when I said, here's the poverty, here's what we're trying to change, they both had a look of, oh my goodness, that is an important problem. So everything else goes away. The idea is if you're in Rotary, you're really in Rotary, as opposed to saying, look at that certificate on my wall. Cool.
Right.
Going out and doing something, or you're saying, hey, I haven't heard from Rotary in a while. What's going on, guys? If you're away. Part of what I'm on what's called a retention committee. So I got an email today from the committee chair saying to make sure that we had all called the people we were supposed to, like they hadn't shown up for a while or whatever. And part of it is, hey, we miss you. Why aren't you around? So again, it's people that have to care about it enough to say, look, you don't have to call the person, go away. The club's going to go away if we don't have members. You have to call them, and that builds a bond. I've had people come in that I've called, and they thanked me for calling them. I don't know how long they kept coming back. We have lives, and these days you're busy with stuff.
Right, sure.
But anyway, so that's pretty much it. People that are really into it, and they will come to meetings. The usual attendance at a meeting is anywhere from 45 to 60% of the membership. Again, not everybody can afford once a week or even, every 2 weeks. Right? It just happens. But in a lot of cases, they'll come up and say, "Hey, I met somebody at," that they might not have met.
Where do you typically hold meetings?
Well, the last time we were doing it, I held some at, I guess it's called Woodlawn Point. I always forget that name.
Yeah, Woodlawn Point.
There you go, Woodlawn Point. And then we moved it to the Pride Center,
Okay.
which a little bit better, as far as location and
Right.
there. So yeah, I mean, people are very much willing to let us meet. If we were to meet at a lunchtime, it would be best to do it somewhere in a restaurant.
Mhm.
But again, people are going to go, "Oh my God, $15, $20 a week." They have to really be into it to do that. I mean, right now we're paying $20 a week. We meet at the Witty, and there's 340 members in my club, and probably about 100, 125, which is less than the normal, shows up for the lunch. For a new club, it's kind of hard to say, well, this is the dues cost. And oh, by the way, here's this lunch. Get away with just buying coffee if you want. But
Right.
most people that get into it, if the atmosphere is right and the people are right, the meshing together and everything like that, it becomes, hey, lunch, lunch with friends. So it's not as much of an issue.
Right.
Sure.
And I mean, as an example, the negative side of it, when I was trying to start the club in California, there's this one fellow that after we had submitted the chartering documents to Rotary, which included our bylaws, which everybody had seen and approved, I said, okay, we have to go over the bylaws. And it's like, I looked around like comically, I thought the guy was joking. Because bylaws, who wants to do that? And it took a long time to do it. And he said, what we need to know, 6 months down the road, something's going to come up. And I said, don't take this the wrong way, but in 6 months, I defy anybody in this room to know where the bylaws are without looking around. Yes, they're important, but some of the basics we'll remember. So
Right.
just say, not to say, oh, there's negative and the world's falling apart. There is some negativity. There is some stress. In this particular person's case, he left, which is kind of strange that he left over that. But, you do it, you work it out, you go have a beer, we're done, we're good. Or anything else. It doesn't have to be a beer.
We are coming up on about 45 minutes here. I really do appreciate your time.
I do too. Thank you.
I would like, definitely, we would like, more information, how we can help, anything we can do on our side to assist in any way possible. Um, Offline, we can maybe get your email to get that out there as well, on our social media platforms, allow people to kind of reach out to you, as well. But definitely, if there's anything we can do to help kind of get things going, to help build things, to outreach, whatever it is. I personally, and I know Angela, I don't mean to speak for her, but I will. Um, I'm sure we'd be, more than welcome to offer anything we can, to be able to help, in any way possible. The like I said earlier, the premise behind this is great. The platform is a great one to be able to help individuals out there, and it's definitely a good cause.
And if you
it
want
helps.
to plug Facebook page, any of your contacts right now, go ahead. And like Hector was saying, just send it to us as well, and we'll add it.
Yeah, unfortunately, with my ability to forget things, the group page is called Forming Rotary in San Antonio LGBTQ Community.
And that's on Facebook.
And my Facebook page is just Charlie Wasser, and I post there too. That'd be great if you guys could do that. Check it out.
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely, we'll put a link at the end. We'll get one of our people on that.
Roz will take care of that stuff
to get all that information out there. Again, want to thank you for your time, and really appreciate you taking the time to educate us on everything that's involved. Honestly, before I saw the post on that Facebook group, I was like, I had no clue what Rotary was. I thought the same thing that you had mentioned. It's just a bunch of rich white people sitting around. And I had no idea that there was actually kind of programs that there, things that they did outside of, just sitting around and, shooting the bull, so I appreciate the time that you, gave us to educate us.
Sure. one of the things that when you get into Rotary is you want to help it grow and do whatever. And it means going out and recruiting. Sometimes it means saying, hey, we just did a project there. Let's put a logo there. And I'll send you a picture of the mini library. You'll see what I'm talking about. And it's not overly bragging. It's like, hey, that's cool. I want to do that too.
Yeah.
And the advertising that I put out is, this is what we do. Do you want to do it with us? As opposed to, we do this, we're cool, go away. It's more of, we're trying to be welcoming about it. We want more people to help us.
Yeah. And I think that's a big part, to be able to get and kind of the rules behind it of keeping all the other BS out of it, that gets more people into it because you're not stepping on any toes in the process. So love that aspect of it. Again, anything we can do on our end, don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us, or both of us. And we'll do the same, to you. If we have any questions or anything comes up, we'll definitely, we won't hesitate to reach out. And we'd like to have you on again to kind of let us know, update things, how things are going, and kind of make it a working relationship here.
That'd be great. Will too. And obviously, I'm hoping you understand the way I am. You can put any kind of advertisements you want on the link. Somebody goes through and they watches the video on the bottom. It says, and we, whoever the producers are, give a link to you guys so you can help grow too and do your thing. I appreciate what you're doing. I will be spreading the link around the country, so we'll see what happens with that.
Awesome. Definitely appreciate that. And again, you're welcome on anytime. This is Charlie Wasser, definitely educating us on Rotary. He's a guru.
You're our guru, at least.
We're kind of twins here, so
Look how long it took me to do that. Don't be ashamed.
I didn't want to blind anybody, so but definitely do appreciate your time today, Charlie. We'll be in touch with you, and we'll get these links posted. We'll share this video over with you as well, so you can share. Follow us on our social medias. We'll have those posted as well. And again, appreciate your time and look forward to working alongside you.
Thank you to our guests, Charlie Wasser. Your hosts today were, and still are, Hector Barrera and Angela Tapia. This episode of Right Side Pride was produced, directed, and edited by the ever-talented and lovely Roz Teeple. See you next time on Right Side Pride.